Welcome to the Pops and Drops podcast.
What up, people?
This week we are going to discuss social divisions, cultural divisions, political divisions, and how those things align and point towards our future as a country.
Okay. Whatever that means.
Okay, well, this should be a fun game.
We're playing games now.
There's something different about you. I'm feeling different now that I found you. There's something different about you. Yeah, I'm feeling different now that I found you.
What I thought we would do is set up two sides of a coin and express our opinions about where we think each side lays in terms of the political parties or not, and what that means for the country going forward. We're recording this podcast a couple of days before Joe Biden's inauguration as the president, and
About a week after the attempted coup.
And we can talk about the difference between a week-long attack on a federal courthouse with firebombs and nightly attacks versus a few minutes inside the Capitol and how it's being portrayed.
Chanting for the vice president to be hanged.
Well,
that happened. You have to admit that happened.
I take your word for it. I didn't see anything. I didn't see it, or hear it, but I will take your word for
You
that.
haven't watched anything? You haven't looked at what actually happened?
I've seen photographs and
You didn't see the videos? You didn't see the people being attacked, the cop getting beaten? You didn't see any of that?
no.
Well, it happened.
Okay. Well, we've had a summer of violence. We've had people killed inside their own businesses, and we've had a lot of violence in the last year.
This was an attack on democracy, though. For someone who's so gung-ho about the Constitution and,
Oh, I'm not defending the actions inside the courthouse at all. What I'm just talking about is the differential in the media coverage of the events at the Capitol versus the events of the BLM riots.
Yeah, because the cops at the BLM riots were beating the shit out of the people, and the cops at this one were literally there's literally videos of the cops like leaving.
Okay, so this is a good place to start with our discussion. We can talk about dichotomies and support for the police.
Yeah.
So we could say, does one side of the political spectrum support local law enforcement and another side oppose them?
They used to. They didn't last Wednesday, and the people that still support Trump, like those people like right down the street from us on the way to Salem, they had a Blue Lives Matter flag, and after that shit happened at the Capitol, they're flying it upside down. I have a video of that on my phone.
Okay.
It's ridiculous.
So nobody supports the police now?
I don't know.
Well, I think if you look in terms of...
They were beating the shit out of cops. The people rocking the Trump stuff were beating the shit out of the cops. They literally tried this one, like during the riot, the cop was saying that he got swarmed and then his gun got taken and someone yelled out, "Kill him with his own gun." It's mob mentality, man. They got riled up and went crazy.
Yes. So I guess
The BLM people never did that.
the BLM people threw Molotov cocktails at cops.
No, they didn't.
I saw video of it.
Of extremist.
I see. So if it's left activity, it's only the extremists that are violent, but if it's right activity, it's everybody.
No, see, there's a difference because during the left activity, 99.999% of it was peaceful, and there was 0.001% that was unpeaceful. During this Trump thing, it's completely flipped.
I hardly think
it
that's
was
true.
Thousands of people streaming into the Capitol, thousands breaking down barriers. It is flipped.
Well, breaking down barriers, and then
and chanting for the vice president to be hung. Thousands of people chanting that.
Well, the BLM chants were
no
justice, no peace.
Yeah.
No justice. You know what no peace means, right?
That means peaceful. That means marching and saying that
Well, hold on. What does no peace mean?
not allowing people to be overthrown by the violent cops.
But no peace specifically.
We're saying that there is no peace because there's no justice. Not that we're going to cause no peace because there's no justice. We're saying that there's already no peace.
That's your interpretation
That's what it
of
means.
the chant.
That's what it means.
No, that's not what it means.
That is what it means. See, you're radicalized on the right, and so you don't actually understand it.
If you ask 90% of the people that march and say no justice, no peace, that's a threat.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. No, I was there. You weren't there. You haven't marched.
Chancellor, that chant goes back to the 60s.
Okay.
To the Watts riots. Okay, before you were born. No justice, no peace means if you...
Oh, when the cops are doing the same shit that they're doing now?
Probably.
Yeah. So you admit at least the police are racist. Thank you for finally admitting that.
I'm saying there are racist cops and always have been.
A large majority of them are. Yep. Thank you.
That's where we disagree.
Okay.
I mean, a large majority of, if you think about it, the way that the urban police forces are staffed, a large majority of the cops either are or work with minorities. A lot of cops are black and Hispanic, and their partners, if they have white partners.
You think they're in the power structure?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Look at the police chief of Washington, D.C. That's a black man.
Okay.
Of course they're in the power structure.
Okay.
So I think you're just, anyway, misinformed a little bit on that. So less in terms of the anomaly that was January 6th.
It was not an anomaly. That was an attempted coup by the president, who's now been impeached twice. He's been impeached twice.
Yes.
He will go down in history as the worst president we have ever had. He will. He will. He definitely will. He's the only president to ever been impeached twice. That's your proof right there.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have an extremely partisan Congress who denied the...
Do you know that there are members of Congress who are fearing for their own life from other members of Congress?
No, that's interesting.
They've come out and made statements that they're afraid that the Trumpers will kill them.
Did they get on CNN or MSNBC when they said that?
No, I think I saw that on Facebook.
Okay, well, the one thing you have to understand is...
But they probably have said it on Fox News and CNN and MSNBC.
I doubt they said it on Fox, or Fox would carry it.
Yeah, because Fox is trying to spin people in your direction.
Right. And the other side is spinning people in the other direction. Do you disagree?
I believe that there is some bias, but I don't think it is. I think that they don't lie like the right does. They show actual shit.
Okay. And did you see what came out this week about the New York Times coverage of Syria?
No.
Okay. The left and the mainstream media have been caught continuously over the last 4 years in big lies, including Russiagate. Huge lie. There was no Russian collusion in the 2016 election.
Oh, yes, there was.
Okay,
there 100% was. Russia
wasn't.
paid for ads on Russia created bots on Facebook. That's been proven.
There's a difference between collusion and interference, or at
Trump
least
knew
attempted
about it. His
interference.
advisors were meeting with Russian officials.
Not about their Facebook
Yes,
ad.
dude, that's what they were talking about. And you just proved my point. You admitted that he met with them. So you just admitted that there was collusion. So thank you for proving that.
What are you talking about?
You just admitted that Trump's campaign met with Russian officials while he was running for president. That's what you just said.
What I admitted, but
yeah, that is what you said. You're like, yeah, he met with them. So you just proved that. So that's collusion right there.
Well, the investigation in the first impeachment hearing found no collusion.
Dude,
$25 million worth of investigation.
he was impeached. He was ruled out by the Senate because the Republicans control it.
Impeachment means charged, like in a grand jury. When a grand jury
and then it got sent to the
charges you
Senate,
with
which was controlled by the Republicans. So now when he gets impeached a second time, now that the Democrats control it, and he is actually found guilty, will you at least admit
you're just
that?
admitting it's all political. It's not based on evidence. It's based on politics.
No, he did commit collusion.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. He absolutely did. It's just that the Republicans wanted
The
to
Mueller
set him
report
free.
and the IG's report both said, first the Mueller report said there was no proof of collusion, and then the IG's report said that the whole investigation was fraudulent, that they submitted FISA applications based on lies.
The Trump appointed?
James Comey, yeah. And we talked about this before. Trump's biggest problem was that he didn't fire everybody who was trying to undermine his presidency.
Oh my God. Dude.
Anyway,
I cannot believe this.
Doesn't matter.
You're so brainwashed.
It has nothing to do with Trump. Except that
You don't think that the attempted coup last week had anything to do with Trump? It had everything to do with Trump. He riled them up. He's the one who said, "Come to Washington. I want you to storm
Trump
the Capitol."
riled them up.
Yeah.
What riled them up was,
And the 3 other people that went on before him, and Ted Cruz, and those other assholes who will probably all go to jail too, because they're treasonous. They are traitors.
what riled them up was 40 years of kleptocracy.
Oh my God.
What do you mean, oh my God? 40 years of kleptocracy. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, you're just saying a word so that you can try to sound smart. So go ahead and explain to me what kleptocracy is.
For 40 years, the federal government has been controlled by people who are bleeding this country. They are draining money out of middle-class households and putting it in their own pockets. Do you know what the Gini coefficient is?
No.
Okay, the Gini coefficient is the separation between the ultra rich and the middle class and working class, and that has been growing. The rich have been growing richer.
And
over 40
and Trump
years.
is the richest, was or pretended to be the richest of the rich. So that makes no sense that he would be fighting for a common man or whatever you think he's fighting for.
The reason he got elected,
the scummiest, sleaziest,
the reason he
piece
got
of shit on the
elected,
planet.
and I'm telling you, it's not about Trump. Trump was a poor candidate. He just happened to be the only one. It was an accident of the establishment that he got the nomination. The establishment chose Trump to run against Hillary because they thought he was most likely to lose. The mainstream media, MSNBC, CNN, their owners, the DNC, chose Trump. They chose him.
Okay. Fox News chose him too?
After the fact. No, Fox News.
I'm pretty sure all the mentally challenged rednecks are the ones that chose him.
Go back during the Republican primary. Go back and watch Fox News' coverage of the Republican field. Fox News was not a Trump supporter. Fox News did not want Trump to be the candidate.
Okay.
Because they thought he was among the
until the rednecks were like,
among
yeah,
the
dude,
candidates.
let's go for Trump because we've been watching him on TV for 15 years. So let's go for him.
That's the narrative that you've been fed.
No, I've watched Trump. He's been in my television in my living room my entire life. That's why he got the nomination. It's because all those rednecks were like, "Oh, Donald Trump." Yeah.
How do you jump from you've seen him on TV to rednecks?
Because all of the rednecks saw him on TV too.
Really?
Yes.
You think the rednecks are watching The Celebrity Apprentice?
Yes. Absolutely. That is trash television.
Yeah. Who's watching Moonshiners? Who's watching Swamp People? Who's watching the Outdoor Channel?
I don't know.
Well, you're assuming just because you don't like him.
It's on NBC. The rednecks can't afford those channels, bro. They watch NBC and all that stuff that's local. So,
That is why Trump got elected.
Yeah, it's because of those people.
No,
exactly.
It's because millennial shitheads and jerks like you call half the population of the United States dumb rednecks.
Because they are.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are. And they proved it on Wednesday when they started marching on the Capitol. Saying, this is our America. Watch the interviews, dude. This is literally how they talk. Trump, man, the fraud. It was a fraud election.
Okay.
That's how they talk.
Okay, but you're saying that's everybody.
That's all the people that voted for him, or vast majority of them.
It's not. That's not a vast majority of them.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. If you look at the map, at all the red things that went red. It's the middle of the country. It's not big
and now
cities.
So now you're saying everybody in the middle of the country is like that.
Obviously.
Okay, not obviously. Okay, you are being a really impolite, and closed-minded, and
to the rednecks
and elitist. Do you know what rednecks are? Rednecks are people who fight for union rights.
Okay. Like the union, like the cops
Battle
union.
of
The reason why bad cops aren't fired. Yeah.
The Battle of Blair Mountain was people wearing red bandanas fighting fighting for union rights against the owners of the coal mines in West Virginia. That's where rednecks come from. That's who rednecks are. People who support union rights.
Okay.
So you're the one who sounds.
Well, the term
you're
has
the one
changed.
You're the one who sounds
Just like
ignorant.
the term cracker. Do you know where the term cracker comes from?
No.
Do you know why those rednecks are also crackers? Why they were called crackers?
What I want to know is why is it okay for you to talk like this in such a derogatory manner, but if anybody uses the N word, they're canceled?
Because
Yours
I'm white, so I can say cracker. Do you know what cracker was? The reason why they called them crackers is because they used to crack whips. That's the etymology of that term.
Okay. I'll have to look that up.
Look it up. That's the term. That's why it's called cracker.
Okay.
And because they're like saltine crackers. They're boring. And they have no flavor either.
Okay.
And that's why you can't be racist against white people if you're white, because white is not a color.
That's right. It's not. We all live on a spectrum of how much melanin is in our skin, and it makes absolutely no difference. You can have a lot of melanin, you can have a little bit of melanin. You can go from very dark to albino.
Yep.
Okay.
It's how society views you.
And the percentage of melanin in your skin has no application to how talented you are or how qualified you are.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you for at least admitting that.
Have I ever held a different position? Ever?
I don't know. You were a Trump supporter, man, so you are pretty in that spectrum.
What makes you think I was a Trump supporter?
Did you vote for him?
Once.
Okay.
The second time, not the first time. The first time I voted for Bernie Sanders.
So you voted for him after he tried to burn down the country and showed his racist stripes and tried to ruin. So you voted for him after the fact.
I voted for him.
That's even worse. You turned into a Trumper. You got brainwashed and turned into a Trumper. That's even worse.
After the DNC demonstrated that the federal government is completely compromised by the elite donor class and has taken over the federal government, and we no longer
everybody has known that.
We no longer
everyone's known that forever.
No, they haven't.
It's obvious.
Well,
it's like the sky is blue. No shit.
Well, that's
government's corrupt.
That's why people
no
voted
shit.
For
it's
Trump.
the government.
That's why people voted
Trump
for Trump.
Trump is the most corrupt. That's why it doesn't make any sense.
But he didn't come out of the government.
Oh my God. No, he came out of a Nazi fucking lineage. That's where he came out of. His great grandpa was a fucking Nazi.
During the Democratic primary process in 2016, when Hillary Clinton got the nomination, the establishment kicked Bernie out of the equation, even though a majority of the primary voters demonstrated a preference for Bernie.
Yeah, and I was one of them.
So
how do you go from Bernie to Trump?
I'm explaining that to you.
Opposite ends of the spectrum.
I'm explaining that to you because my primary issue is the corruption of the federal government.
Then you should not have voted for Trump because he's the most corrupt person on the planet, trying to make side deals and backwards deals, and he's so entrenched in the corruption. He is like
not
corruption.
Not Washington insider corruption, just your conventional businessman corruption.
Oh my God.
The Washington insider corruption is the kind of corruption that takes money from everybody in the United States and funnels it to the lobbyists and to the elite. His businessman corruption is just dealing with the mob trying to get a building built. It's minuscule compared to the scale of corruption that comes out of Washington, D.C.
You are so backwards, man.
And the reason I voted for him the second time,
he's so corrupt and so backwards another reason why they're trying to get him impeached the second time is so that he doesn't get intelligence briefings because they're afraid he's going to sell them to like Russia.
That's another weird story that makes no sense.
Every president gets intelligence briefings.
Yes.
Confidential information.
Yeah.
Yes. That's why it's important that he doesn't get those, because he will try and sell them
Okay.
to Putin and
That's
Kim
ridiculous.
Jong-un, probably, who's his butt buddy.
That's kind of ridiculous.
No, it's facts.
It sounds like you're living in a cartoon world
Oh my God.
where you're getting your information from MSNBC, CNN, and Twitter. You have no objective.
You don't
News
have any
sources.
objective opinion. You are so entrenched and
Not true.
brainwashed by the right wing, super crazy
Who?
people.
Name somebody.
Whatever that dude is that you love, that was Bernie, and then he started attacking him. I don't even know his name. That's how much I dislike that person, that I purposely try to block his name out. Whatever his name is. I was following him on Twitter and I started ripping him to shreds, and I was like, you know what? This guy is just too stupid and crazy for me to even deal with anymore.
Okay. So his name is Jimmy Dore.
Yeah, that psychopath.
Well, I would agree with you. I think he is kind of a psycho because he thinks socialism is the answer.
Oh my God, no, he doesn't. That is his front to get people like you, to brainwash people like you. That is his front to get people like you in the door, so that
What?
you can go down this crazy conspiracy theory and theory crap and then come out the other side a Trumper.
That's pretty silly.
That's the facts. That's what happened to you.
No.
That's probably what happened to a lot of
So
people.
you don't think the DNC stole the 2016 primary
I
from
know
Bernie?
they did. They
Okay.
definitely did.
That's all
The
Jimmy Dore
DNC is
said.
corrupt, but they're not evil like the GOP. They're not evil.
Yeah, they are.
No, they're not.
The DNC, major contributors, military industrial complex.
Just like the GOP, bro.
Less so.
The people who make the guns support the GOP. The NRA support the GOP. The gun touting crazy rednecks. That's all GOP, bro.
The little guns.
Oh my God.
The little guns.
Any
the people,
gun.
the
Guns
people who
in
support
general
no.
are bad.
There are manufacturers who build weapons that the general public has no access to. Only the government of the United States and the governments around the world that the United States agrees to sell them to. The people who manufacture F-16s and Stinger missiles and hydrogen bombs. Those are not Republicans. The Republicans are the people who manufacture hunting rifles and pistols.
AK-47s.
AK-47s.
Which is a military grade.
A military style. You cannot own an automatic weapon as a citizen of the United States. Even though the founders, the purpose of the Second Amendment was to give ordinary citizens a defense against an overreaching government. That's what the Second Amendment was for. But you can't go up against a tank and a Stinger missile and an RPG with an AK-47. Unfortunately, the military technology has gone far beyond anything a normal citizen could or should have access to.
And the military shouldn't have access to it either. And ordinary citizens shouldn't have access to regular guns either.
Well, until there are no guns, the last people to give up their guns should be the citizens. If the governments around the world gave up all weapons, then fine, give up.
No, because then a bunch of rednecks would try to take over.
No, that's the difference. They wouldn't.
Yes, they would.
The rednecks the NRA people just want to be left alone. They don't want the government involved in their lives. That's the difference.
Then why did they try to storm the Capitol?
Because they're afraid the government is going to try and come and take their guns. Because the government, through the rhetoric of the Democratic Party, has already demonstrated a contempt for the U.S. Constitution. You know what fascism is? Fascism is when the government gets in bed with the big corporations.
That sounds like Trump. By putting the heads of all these corporations into the White House. That's literally what he did. So what?
And the people from Facebook and Google and Twitter that are going to be in the Biden administration.
Yeah, right.
What are you laughing at?
Think Zuckerberg's going to be in the Biden administration?
There are people, high-level executives from all three of those social media companies that are now taking positions in the administration.
That's not Zuckerberg.
No, he's too rich. He wouldn't take a pay cut.
Okay.
And he doesn't need to have a job there. The people that are going to sit in those offices are just his conduits. So
Yeah.
he can tell, so they can tell him and he can tell them. It's fascism.
No, it's not.
Kicking people off and silencing people and censorship. That's
No, it's not. That's free market capitalism, bro.
not
That's the market deciding that those people are not viable, bro. That's your whole side of the argument, dude. You're Mr. Capitalism. You should understand that when a product is no longer viable, it's discontinued. And Trump is a product, and he's no longer viable. So the market
Trump
said
was never
you will
viable
be
in the first
discontinued.
place. That's fine. Trump was
And
never
all of his little
viable in the first
followers.
place.
And all of his
But
little followers.
the point is, because of 40 years of kleptocracy, that those frustrated citizens are not going away. The federal government has been stealing from the American people for 40 years. And Joe Biden comes right out of that machine politics machine. That was redundant. Joe Biden comes right out of that political machine. He is the senator from MBNA. He is the credit card senator. He's the person who made it illegal to go bankrupt on your credit card debt. That's Joe Biden.
Okay.
Okay. So he is the tool of the elite.
Okay.
And if you research his record and what he stood for, you would know that he is responsible for incarcerating most of the African Americans. And
He also went after raves, bro. I understand, but he's not evil like Trump.
What?
And he's not going to be there for
Define
and he's
evil.
not going
Define
to and he's
evil.
not going to be there for long. Kamala Harris is probably going to take over relatively soon.
Okay.
So, he's not literally the son of Satan like Trump it was. So, it was a pretty easy choice.
Fine.
Someone who's going to actually fight to get people an extra $1,400, I guess. Or literally the most corrupt and disgusting human being
So
on the
why
planet.
did the DNC and MSNBC, which also came out last week in a podcast, stifle Andrew Yang?
What do you mean stifle Andrew Yang?
They basically signaled through the way they covered his campaign that he was not going to be the nominee. The producers at MSC told
Andrew Yang went on Joe Rogan.
Yes. You know why?
Andrew Yang was on MSNBC and CNN and all of those like every week leading up during the primaries. Just because he didn't get picked as the primary candidate doesn't mean that MSNBC colluded against him, man.
Yeah, they did.
No,
That's
they
what
didn't.
the producers came out and said they did.
Oh
That's
my
what came
God.
out last week is
That is
MSNBC
so
producers came out and admitted that they were told by their editors not to pursue interviews with Andrew Yang, not to cover his campaign. They didn't want Andrew Yang in the news.
Andrew Yang has been in the news. Like I have one of his math hats because his social media team was so good.
He had to go around the
so
mainstream
what?
media.
That's the game, bro.
Well, it doesn't work, bro. Joe Biden is the mainstream media candidate.
And he won. And
That's
he beat
my point.
and he beat the evilest person on the planet. So it's fine.
He beat Bernie Sanders?
I said he beat the evilest person on the planet.
And what I'm talking about is the Democratic primary. I'm not talking about the general election.
Why?
Because the primary is where the action is. The primaries of the political parties is where the decisions get made.
Okay.
Because the people who vote in the primaries are the ones who are paying attention. The people
Okay.
who vote in the general, plurality of them, unfortunately,
So then that
walk
was a-
into the voting booth having done no research.
Okay,
They
so
just
if
walk
someone
in and-
doesn't win a primary, that's on them, not on the news.
it's on the news if the news refuses to cover them.
No, it's not. If Andrew Yang wanted to be covered, he would do something like he did when he went after the WWF. He would do stuff. He would do what Trump did. He would bully his way into it. Like, come
So
on,
now-
man.
So now you're talking about the way that the system is set up that gets us candidates like Donald Trump because the mainstream media refuses to cover
Because it's about rating.
logical.
It's about rating.
Right.
Everybody knows that.
We're-
That's why I don't understand your
That's why
fucking
we're-
thought process.
that's why we're in
Why
idiocracy.
why you're so pissed off at the way the world works. It's the way the world works, man. You got to work inside the system. You have to understand the system.
And in a system that is not going to turn into idiocracy, the reality instead of the movie, you have to have an objective source of information. And you have
There
to have...
is 9 million. Dude, everybody has a phone. Everybody is connected to everything. Like, there is no... Everybody knows that MSNBC and CNN lean left and Fox News and whatever the new one is lean right. Everybody understands that. Everybody knows that that's the way they lean. Everybody has known that forever. Everybody knows that those networks choose to highlight certain candidates and not other candidates. Everybody fucking knows that. And they've known that forever. And you're just discovering it and getting pissed off about it. And that's why you voted for Trump. Because you're like, that's messed up. But it's so fucking obvious that maybe that's why you voted for Trump, is because you don't actually have any common sense. And so when something like breaks through, you're like, oh my God. Like, come on, bro. What the hell?
40 years, this charade.
It's
that
not a
the
charade.
elites
It's
have
out in
controlled.
the open. Everybody fucking knows it. That's what I've been telling you. Everybody knows this shit.
Okay, you think that your mother and your grandmother think that CNN is biased.
I think they know it. Biased towards the left. Because it's pretty fucking obvious.
It is very obvious, but I'm telling you, there are a lot of people who watch those channels and nothing else and believe the stuff they say is true.
Yeah, and
You
a
among
lot of
them.
people watch the right wing and think that stuff is true. No, I'm not one of them. I watch both. And I'm like, it's obvious that one side is good and one side is bad. Like, moralistically, one side is racist and one side is not. One side wants to help the poor and one side does not.
Oh, really? Okay, well, which one do you think wants to help the poor?
The left.
Okay, by electing Joe Biden.
Yeah.
The person who made it illegal to go bankrupt on credit card debt.
Okay, who goes
Joe
bankrupt
Biden.
on credit card debt? People who can build up credit card debt. You dumbass, that's not the poor. That's the middle class. The middle class are not the poor.
The working class in this country has credit. The working class in this country has access to consumer lending. Otherwise, they wouldn't have $1,000 cell phones.
Yeah, and they're not poor.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the working class in this country that makes up the majority of the population, who has been left behind by the federal government, by the kleptocracy, by the fact that the people who go to Congress to represent them, the day after they get there, call the K Street lobbyists and say, start the funnel. I've got to raise $6,000 a day from now until the next election to cover my campaign expenses. Send me the checks. Tell me how to vote. That's the way Congress works. Because they have to win an election for 750,000 people.
Yeah.
Not the way the system was designed to work.
Yeah, obviously the system needs to be changed.
Okay.
The Constitution is bad. Thank you for finally admitting
The
that.
people, no, it's not the
You
Constitution.
just said that. You just said the system doesn't work. The system is based on the Constitution.
Not since 1911. That's the point. Since 1911, the system has been a corruption of the original constitutional design, and you know it. Unless you haven't been listening for the last 20 episodes.
Yeah, and the original constitutional design was fucked from the get-go because it was written by slave-owning, land-owning white males. It was screwed and it was fucked from the get-go, bro.
Wouldn't have lasted 250 years.
It
and
hasn't. You just
and it
admitted that
wouldn't
it
have-
hasn't because it's broken. God, like, can you not see what you're
We're
saying?
still a country.
So it's not broken.
What do you?
It either is or it isn't. Is it or isn't it?
Yeah, it's broken.
Okay.
Since
Well, then-
1911.
so then the Constitution is screwed up.
No, it worked great till 1911, until the elites got in charge, until they created the Fed and they capped the number of people in Congress.
Until there was more, until the country was as big as it is now. It's like, that's the problem. the country got too big.
No.
Basing everything on this piece of paper. The country got too big. There's too many people. There's too much to do. There's too many layers. There's too many people, obviously. For a little basic piece of paper. That also, when they said right to bear arms, that's because you had to like load a musket, whatever, for like 10 minutes. And they marched in like lines when they were firing.
That was the most advanced military technology available at the time.
Exactly. And they could not predict where guns were going. They couldn't even imagine. They could not imagine the technology that we have today. There's no way.
Okay.
And so that's why things need to be completely
But
reworked.
you don't go in the opposite direction of the original principle.
Yes, you do, because the original principle was fucked up because it was written by slave-owning white males.
The original principle was allow personal sovereignty and
For slave-owning white males. That's the only people that it gave rights to. It did not give rights to women. It did not give rights to African Americans.
It has now. Unlike other countries in the world, you need to talk to some people from other countries. America is the shining light on the hill.
No, it's not. It was before fucking Trump took over.
Okay, so they have sold you on this 4 years, this story, and he's a perfect candidate to do it. But they have used him as an opportunity to convince half the country that they're the good guys.
Yeah, because we are. They didn't have to convince us. We know it inside. I know what's right and what's wrong, and you don't.
Okay, so you think big government in charge of people and censorship is right now. That's what you think is good.
It's not censorship to kick somebody off of a platform if they violate the platform's terms of use. That's not fucking censorship, bro. That's you being a dumbass.
Censorship is Amazon Web Services shutting down the alternative platform.
No, it's not. It's kicking them off of their servers. If they really want to still be around, they got to go find.
They will go get their own server.
Yeah, do that.
Okay.
No one can kick you off of your own shit.
Correct.
So do that. So instead of whining and crying, why don't you tell them to go do their own shit?
Well, that's what they're doing now.
That's the free market, man. That's the thing that you fight for. So you should not be upset about Twitter kicking people off or Facebook kicking people off because those are private companies.
Great.
So you can't call it censorship.
The only issue with that is,
and if Donald Trump wanted to say anything to the American, Donald Trump was not censored. Donald Trump could go into the press room at any minute and say whatever the fuck he wants to the entire world. Donald Trump was not censored.
Well, they actually cut him off multiple times on the CNN and MSNBC when he went into that press room and started talking. They cut him off.
So there's Fox News. I'm sure they didn't.
But you just said
change channels.
But
that's the market it's too, bro.
Think about what that means.
What?
The implications of that. That if you have one half of the country getting all of their news and information from one set of sources, and the other half of the country getting all of their news and information from another set of sources, that when those two halves of the country have to come together and have a discussion, they have no common ground.
No shit.
Culture war, civil war, you're dead.
I'm not. No.
Yeah, because you're fighting age. And because the side of the country that now controls the federal government
is my side. So I'm not, I don't have to worry about it. They will
draft you to fight on their behalf. Yeah, you'll get drafted. Okay. They'll put a rifle in your arms and they'll say, march down there to Georgia and kill the rednecks. Yeah. And you'll go, all righty, I'm all in.
No. No, first off, I have a broken foot and a broken neck. So I couldn't be drafted.
They won't care.
Yeah, okay.
Because the elites don't really care about you. They just need cannon fodder.
Oh my God.
The rich people throughout the history of the world have sent the peasants into battle. You are cannon fodder.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not. And I'm not a peasant either.
As far as they're concerned,
as they're concerned, I'm verified on Twitter. I'm one of their warriors. I would more likely be a general than anything else. So
you have a very high opinion of yourself.
No, I don't. I just understand. I understand social media. Okay.
Cannon fodder.
Okay.
When the shit hits the fan, you're cannon fodder.
Okay. It's not going to hit the fan because the good guys won.
Okay. 4 years from now, you're going to get the same set of people who nominated Trump because they were so fucking pissed off with the federal government and 40 years of being stolen.
No, they're not.
The government
It's not going to be the
being
same. The Republican Party split in two.
Yeah. So is the Democratic Party.
No, no, it's not.
Watch.
No, because there's going to be a crazy person trying to run under the Trump shit, and the Democrats are going to come together and be like, okay, fine.
The Democrats, no, they're not, because Joe Biden is not going to do any of the stuff that AOC promised. He is the corporate candidate.
Okay.
He represents the elites. He is not going to do anything that threatens the power structure. Do you know who Eric Weinstein is?
No, who's Eric Weinstein?
He is a investment banker, physicist, very intelligent. He's Brett Weinstein's brother. He has a podcast called The Portal. He has analyzed society and is talking about what he calls the GIN, which is the gated institutional narrative, the GIN, gated institutional narrative. And essentially, he talks about how they're the elites that, and he deals with them because he's an investment banker. He works for Peter Thiel. They deal with the people that have the big money.
Okay.
And the people who like own CNN and MSNBC. And they have a story that they tell the American people to keep them in line. And they keep all this squabbling going on like a little soap opera to keep everybody occupied while they take all the money put it in their pocket.
Okay.
Okay, well, if that doesn't piss you off.
It doesn't. Why would it? That's the way the world works, bro. That's the way it's always worked. That's the way it's always worked. That's the way it's always worked.
That's not true.
Yes,
That's what made America different.
No. You don't think there were elites in 1776 and there weren't peasants in ancient England? Like, that's the way it works. That's the way society has always worked, man.
Society has gone through cycles.
Okay.
It would be great for you to do some studying.
Okay, well, you need to understand that that's just the way the world works.
Honey.
There are always going to be rich, elite people who control everything.
They don't always control everything. They go through cycles of control.
Yeah, and you think there's going to be a French Revolution or something?
We're potentially on the path to that. Unless our system is strong enough to do what it's supposed to do, which is channel all of that zeal and energy that typically results in a revolution and the king or the aristocrats getting their heads cut off. That's energy is supposed to be channeled into elections where the will of the people gets represented through peaceful change instead of violent change.
And your side is the one that made it violent.
Chancellor, there was a summer of violence. There has been
violence
since the 60s, the Watts riots.
God. And again, that was because the cops are racist pieces of shit.
It's because people get frustrated when they can't buy food for their kids.
And you think that is what? Okay.
Social violence is a product of poverty. It just happens to be correlated to a great degree in this country, unfortunately, with race. But it's not about
It's clearly why the system was set up by slave-owning white males. That's what America was founded on. That's why things are so skewed, bro, from the get-go. There were slaves, and then there was segregation. Like,
if that story were true,
that's true.
No, I'm saying is if the problems with society were based on melanin content.
No, I'm not saying that.
Then you wouldn't have Oprah Winfrey, and you wouldn't have Michael Jordan, and you wouldn't have Cornel West, and you wouldn't have Sidney Poitier, and you wouldn't have all of these super successful.
You're the one who just said that unfortunately the way that the system is set up is that minorities are dealt a shit hand
by the government.
Yes, because the government was set up by slave-owning white males. That's why they give the minorities a shit hand. That's
Well, the government that's given them the biggest shit hand is the Democrats since the 60s. Under the guise of helping them, they segregated them into ghettos. They put all the black males in prison. They introduced crack cocaine.
Yes.
They forced the fathers out of the households, creating generations of undereducated and unfortunately lawless young men. They sent them to public schools with unionized teachers who weren't qualified and didn't do a good job. The solution to the problem is, first of all, a $5,000 a month universal basic income.
I agree with that.
School choice. Give people $5,000 a month. There will be no welfare. There will be no Social Security.
Okay, well, that's not okay. That's you're trying to take Oma's money away.
No, I'm doubling her money. She does not get more than $5,000 a month in Social Security. Every U.S. citizen gets $5,000 a month, period. That's the entitlement. You got to go out. You got to find your own health care. You got to find your own groceries. The only thing the government gives you as a U.S. citizen is $5,000 a month. Now,
that would drive healthcare way up.
How?
Because doctors would be able to charge like 10 times more than they already charge, and they're already charging like 10 times more.
How would they be able to charge that?
Because everyone would have $5,000 a month
for all of their. So
you don't think you don't think doctors would take advantage of that? There needs to be universal. Everyone needs to have health care covered and the $5,000 a month. There needs to be health care. Health care should be a human right.
Okay, but the problem is in the details. Yes, I agree. Everyone should have health care.
Okay, well then why?
But that's different.
Why did you want to eliminate it?
I'm not eliminating it.
Yeah, you are. You're like, you need to go out and find your own health care.
Right. Everybody,
No.
Listen. It's in the devil is in the details, okay? If you have a government program running healthcare, then the government decides what healthcare gets provided.
Yeah.
Okay. That always lags behind the healthcare that's actually needed. How good a job has the government done in getting the COVID vaccines administered? Shitty.
Yeah, because
Really?
Trump's been running it.
Blame it on Trump.
It is his fault.
No, he sent it to the states.
It's totally his fucking fault.
It's government.
Oh my God.
He sent out the virus thing. You think Trump was sitting at his desk and saying what to do? You're blaming this on Trump. It's the government. It's the people
Trump
that
came out and
work
said, "Don't
for
worry about
him."
the virus. It's going to go away. You don't have to wear a mask."
Okay, listen.
Like,
Trump's an
this
idiot.
is his fault.
Okay, listen. Trump's an idiot.
Yeah, no shit.
Okay, so that's not the point.
But it's still his fault. Because he's an idiot.
No, Trump is a clown that the elites got elected on accident. They were trying to get a candidate who Hillary Clinton could beat. He accidentally won.
Okay.
All right. He's not qualified for the job.
Obviously.
He's a clown.
Duh.
Okay.
It's a piece of shit.
He's just a dumb businessman, celebrity.
Sleazy piece of shit.
All of that other stuff is the stuff that the media told you over the last 4 years to keep you tuned in.
It's what he told me. He said, grab him by the fucking pussy. Those words came out of his fucking mouth.
Yep.
Dude.
Yeah, he's like if you grew up
No.
and didn't change.
Oh my God.
Because you were there. You
No,
were
I
there.
was
You
not.
were that guy when you were a teenager.
I was not.
All right, you don't remember, but I do.
You didn't know
Every
me.
16-year-old boy is like that, just about.
Oh my God. Yeah, and Trump was like a fucking 40-year-old man.
That's what I'm saying. He's
Jesus.
a 16-year-old boy who never grew up. That's right. Not qualified to be president. But
Well,
he
at
was
least you
the,
can admit that.
but
So
he
why
was-
did you vote for him a second time if you know he's a fucking dumbass?
Because what the
not
other
qualified to
because
be
what
president.
the other side was doing is worse.
No, it's not. Nothing is worse than him. Absolutely nothing is worse than him.
The mainstream media spent 4 years
No,
programming that response into you.
No,
Yes.
him, himself, his tweets, him, the shit that came out of his own
because here's the
fucking
deal.
mouth.
It became cool. It became cool to trash Trump. That became the cool thing to do.
No.
So you
So
jumped
he
on the
trashed
bandwagon.
himself.
You jumped on the
He
bandwagon.
trashed himself. He came out and said, Proud Boy, stand by and stand ready. That was fucking him, bro. He is a piece of shit.
Okay, the problem is the interpretation of that. First of all, he didn't even know who they were.
Yes, oh my God.
He didn't know who they were.
Dude, you are so brainwashed.
So on one
it's
hand,
so beyond
on one
belief.
hand, you say he's so stupid, and then on the other hand, you say he's playing 4D chess.
He's not playing 4D chess. He's dumb and evil at the same time. You could be the dumbest, most evil person on the planet who lets your ego run wild. That's what he is. He's pure ego and pure evil and pure stupidity. They go hand in hand. They're not opposing forces.
He doesn't know who the Proud Boy. Before that event, and before he got asked about it in the debate, he didn't know who they were.
Oh my God, you are. That is so ignorant of you to think that he didn't know who the fuck the
Why
Proud
would
Boys
he know
were.
who they were?
Because they were all over. All he did was watch the news, and they were all over the fucking news.
Not really.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I thought you said you don't watch the news, so how the fuck would you know if they were all over the news or not?
The coverage of the Proud Boys was all on the internet, not on mainstream media.
No, it was on mainstream media, man.
Not till later.
Oh my God. You are just so entrenched that you cannot, that anything logical comes to you and you're like, nope.
If he was as smart and as informed as you say he was,
He's not smart and informed. He's dumb and racist and evil. He saw people that liked him.
So why can't
he
you
saw
believe
people? He saw people that liked him, and that's why he said, "Stand by and stand ready." He knew that the Proud Boys liked him, so he was like, "Yeah, I don't want to hurt their feelings. They like me."
No, that's
Yes.
the media spin.
No, that's him. That's who he is. If you're someone who boasts him up and says he's awesome, he's like, yeah, thanks. They're a wonderful person. Because
that's true.
Yeah, so you at least admit it. So he knew who they were. He knew that they liked him. And that's all he cared about. That is all he cared about.
But one that does not necessarily follow from the other. If you look at the debate and you read his face when he talks about when Chris Wallace, when he says, well, I've been denouncing white supremacists 71 times. Which white supremacists are you talking about? And then Chris Wallace said the Proud Boys. And he said, okay, Proud Boys, stand by or stand down.
Ready.
Stand down, I think he said.
He said stand by and stand ready. He said stand by and stand ready.
Somebody ought to look that up because I don't recall
That's what
he
fucking said.
You should look it
And
up.
then they were ready on January 6th. And they stormed the Capitol.
I don't think that was the Proud Boys.
There was a large majority of Proud Boys there. That's the people who...
But there's a difference between...
What about the dude carrying the fucking Confederate flag through the Capitol, man? Are you okay with that? Are you okay with them killing the cop?
No, obviously. I'm not okay with them being inside the Capitol building in places that weren't public access places in the first place. The Capitol is a public building, though. There are places where you're allowed to go inside. They had a permit for 2 demonstrations in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. They had permits for 2 demonstrations.
They were chanting "Hang Mike Pence."
Yeah, well, they were pissed off when Pence said he wasn't going to do what Trump said that he was going to do.
It's impossible for him to do that in the first place. He would have gone to jail.
No, I don't know.
That would have been that would have been treason. And Pence would have gone to jail just like Trump's going to go to jail for trying to commit an insurrection.
There was still some question about...
No, there wasn't question.
Yeah.
Joe Biden won the election.
No, what I'm saying
Trump has won in 64 in his fucking court cases, bro. Come on, man.
Well, first of all, that's impossible because he didn't even file 64 court cases.
Yes, he did.
Not Trump.
Giuliani, then, on behalf of Trump, is won in 64.
I think about 30 or 35 of those cases was actually filed by other parties.
Oh my God. You are so fucking entrenched and deep that it
No, I'm just informed.
No,
not
you're
entrenched.
not. You're entrenched and you're brainwashed. You are brainwashed. You're MAGA brainwashed.
Hardly.
Dude.
The problem is you think that anybody who disagrees with you is MAGA brainwashed, which means since
I
you're
think
on the
anybody who
fringe
fucking
left,
voted for goddamn Donald
Since
Trump
you're-
is MAGA brainwashed.
Since
You
you're-
are. Did your daughter know that you voted for Trump?
Since you're-
I'm gonna call her and tell her.
sure, go ahead. Since
She's
you're
probably never gonna talk to you again.
okay, since since
She already
this is
doesn't
the
wanna
issue,
talk to you about
this
it
is
because of
the
this shit.
this is the issue. It is very dangerous for this country, for the mainstream media, to be controlled by one of the political parties. It's very, very dangerous.
They're controlled by both of both parties control both. What do you mean? Fox is controlled by the right and MSNBC is controlled by the left.
That's actually not true.
Roger Ailes is super Republican,
Yes.
and he owns Fox News.
Old school Republican.
That's the right, man.
No, that's the elite. There's two. So what you don't
What?
understand.
A Republican controls Fox News, obviously.
Yes, but he's part of the elite Republican. Remember, the Republican Party is now the old GOP, the grand old party of the status quo and political corruption, and the new movement, what they call the Trumpsters, but it's really just the working class fed up with kleptocracy.
It's the racist. It's not the working
and it's
class.
not racist. And that's the talking
Carrying the
point.
Confederate flag into the Capitol.
Listen,
That's racist. That is racist.
okay,
Sir.
you're a jumping monkey right now.
No, I'm
The,
not.
the game that they played, the game that the elite,
You think that the
Who
elite
is
gave the
controlling-
fucking redneck the Confederate flag and said, go into the Capitol with
there
us?
are
with this?
people like that. But what I'm saying is by highlighting
That's
that,
your side. That's your team. You need to understand that's your team.
it's a broad tent.
It's your team. Your team is racist.
So is yours.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No one on my team fucking rocks the Confederate flag.
Kennedy's. Well, they do worse. They cancel people and get them fired for saying stuff.
For saying incendiary remarks. For inciting violence. For saying...
No.
Yes. That's why they get kicked off.
Nobody in cancel culture in the last 4 years has been doxxed, has been called something that didn't apply to them. Neil Sandman.
I don't know who that is.
So that's part of the problem.
What? That I don't listen to racist or right-wing crazy cuckoo
No,
people?
that you don't follow the news well enough to understand what the hell's going on in your country. Neil Sandman is a high school kid from Kentucky who went to Washington, D.C. on a field trip and was accosted by a Native American
because he was wearing a MAGA
activist.
hat?
Yes.
That dude? Yeah, he's wearing the hat of a racist. So obviously the Native American guy was going to get into his face.
Why is that obvious?
Because he was wearing a racist hat.
What makes the hat racist?
It says "Make America Great Again." That's assuming that America was great, like maybe back during segregation, when the white man was truly in control.
That's your interpretation.
That's what it means.
No,
that's
that's
what it
your
means.
interpretation.
That's what it means. That's exactly what it means.
How?
Let's turn back the clock and make America great again. Instead of progressing forward and actually making America great for the first time, because America's never been great.
Okay, so this is where it all comes from. Your indoctrination through public education into this idea that America's never been great.
America's never been great. When was America great? Can you tell me when America was great? When America was accepting?
July 5th, 1776. America
When a
was
bunch
pretty
of white
damn great.
slave-owning males defeated the British?
They didn't.
A bunch of pieces of shit
They didn't
said,
just-
I don't want to pay taxes to an even bigger piece of shit? That's when America was great? You just said the time when America was great was when there was slavery. That's what you just said. There you go. Thanks for proving my point that you're all fucking racist.
At the time,
Boom.
Chancellor,
Boom.
in 1776, there was slavery across the entire globe.
Yeah. No country was great in 1776.
Okay, so great relative to the rest of the world, July 5th, 1776.
Was still a country created by slave-owning white males. Man, like, what can't you see?
So you don't discount, at the time that was not unusual.
But it doesn't make it okay. That doesn't make
I'm
it
not
okay.
saying it was okay.
Yeah, you are. You're saying
No.
that's when America was great. You are saying it's okay. You're saying we need to go back there when there were slaves.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yes, that's exactly what you're saying. You just don't fucking understand it.
You are so poorly educated that you don't even
You're
understand the
so
principles.
Arrogant
You're
and
so
ignorant to every other fucking person on the planet. You
don't
don't care about anybody
What are you
else
talking
except for
about?
yourself and who you think what America should be. And we should go back in time, turn back the clock to when the white man was truly 100% in power.
It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, it has everything to fucking
No,
do with
it
it.
doesn't.
And the fact that you can't see it is what's so bad. You can't even fucking see it.
It has, okay, let's talk about dichotomies about the Electoral College. So your side is pro getting rid of the Electoral College.
Yeah, because everybody's vote should count.
Okay. So if you had any critical thinking skills and any skills at analyzing systems, you would understand that if there was no Electoral College, that the amount of political power that minorities had in this country would evaporate. They would evaporate.
No, it wouldn't.
Yes, it would.
No, it wouldn't. Because every single person's vote would count.
Right. In a system where still 80% of the population is not black.
Okay.
Protecting the rights of minorities is what the Constitution is set up to do.
No, it's not. It's absolutely fucking
It absolutely
not. Oh my
is.
God. The reason why you don't want why you don't want the Electoral College to be eliminated is because you want places like fucking Texas to have weight instead of every single individual American.
Well, Texas is big now, so in fact, getting rid of the Electoral College would benefit Texas.
So it would just screw over people in like Wyoming in the middle of the country.
Correct.
Yeah. I'm perfectly okay with that because they're the people that fucking voted for Trump.
All right. So what happens when you get rid of the Electoral College and all of those people who you just called bumpkins decide that they don't want to live in a country where a bunch of stuck up,
Then go.
patronizing
Bye.
assholes on the coast.
Bye.
Yeah. So that's the point. Getting rid of the Electoral College ends the United States of America.
No, it doesn't.
Yes,
it just
it does.
ends your United States. It ends the white United States. It ends the United States that allowed the fucking coup to fucking happen. It's the United States that elected Trump in the first place. Like, Jesus, that needs to go.
Okay, you're really short-sighted. There is a great documentary on Netflix on the Electoral College. I suggest everybody who is interested in this topic watch it because it explains very clearly how by people who are African-American political activists, how important it is to maintain the Electoral College.
Okay.
So educate yourself.
Okay.
And wherever your opinions are coming from, re-examine them because you may be getting played. Because
I'm not getting played. I
if
just
you're
think
worried
that
about
it makes
the
sense that
racists-
every single person should have a vote.
every person does have a vote.
No, they don't. They elect someone to go and elect to vote. We elect someone to go vote.
No.
My vote doesn't actually count.
It does when you're electing your congressman because the House of Representatives is supposed to represent the will of the people. The presidency is not supposed to have the importance that it has in our society. And the reason the president has become so important is because we no longer control our congressional representatives.
Okay.
The solution to the system, the solution to the problem is to get rid of money in politics. And the way to get rid of money in politics is to eliminate the need for $6,000 a day in campaign financing to run a congressional campaign. If there was one congressman for every 30,000 people, you could win with grassroots political organizing. And you wouldn't need
And
to
there would be
raise
10,000 congressmen?
6,500. And if each one of them had a clerk, that would be 13,000 people. And that would be the same number of people that work in Congress now. Except half of them would be elected instead of a tiny fraction of them
Okay,
being
well,
elected.
I'm not opposed to that.
Well, that solves the problem. That solves the problem. Anyway, going back to dichotomy.
Because then maybe I could actually be a congressman.
And you should be. But also,
You're not going to like my policies, though.
but you should have the chance to stand up in the public square and say what you think and have a chance of being elected.
Okay.
But if you go to Congress under this new system where every congressman has one clerk, when you go to Congress, you go
Do you know
to,
how
you go to
impossible?
work. You do
Do
not
you know how
go-
impossible it would be to get stuff passed with 6,000 people voting?
The only things that would get passed are the things that are absolutely necessary for the federal government to be doing,
Okay.
which is that's just why they designed the system that way.
Okay.
Because they didn't want the federal government to grow into this giant thing like the British monarchy that they had just fought a war against.
Okay.
Well, we started out trying to do dichotomies and alignment, but I guess we'll have to save that discussion for next
I just
week.
can't wait for like a couple months when I never have to utter the name Trump.
You don't have to now. It's over.
Thank God.
Stop watching CNN. Stop
I
watching
have.
MSNBC.
I have. I've stopped.
No reason to continue.
The only time
Their
that I got
their last gasp at continuing to get ratings was to turn this demonstration at the Capitol into an insurrection attempt.
It was an insurrection.
A coup attempt.
It was an insurrection attempt, man.
Oh, whatever.
You gotta like fucking it happened.
There was 100,000 people there.
Uh-huh.
A few thousand went in the building.
A few thousand stormed the Capitol and killed people and were chanting hang Mike Pence. They wanted to stop the certification of the election. That was their goal.
A few hundred.
Put on
a few
by
hundred, yeah.
Trump. It's still a coup.
A few hundred crazies.
Killed people.
If it had been
Killed people.
Listen.
Killed people.
Yes.
People died
Yep.
because of Trump. Because he riled them up and said, go to the Capitol. That is a fact. That is a fact. He invited them to Washington. He got them all like stirred up. And then he was like, go to the Capitol. I will be with you. And he didn't even fucking go. He went back and watched it on the news and was laughing. And then he said that he didn't like them after they stormed the Capitol because they seemed to be beneath him. Like he ripped his own base.
Not the ones that went and peacefully demonstrated.
Okay, well, he's still the one who told them, and he was excited when they were doing it too. He was like all of his aides are like he didn't understand that like this was bad. He was like excited that they were storming and killing people and all that
I
stuff.
doubt that. But you know that there's a lot of video of people at the demonstration that are trying to stop the people from going in the Capitol building and stop
Well, it
the
doesn't
people
matter.
from
It doesn't
destroying
matter because they
property.
didn't. They didn't stop them. They went in there.
What I'm saying is,
they got into
You're
the.
pretending like this is some monolithic group that all think the same thing.
If they all think Trump is God, then
They
yes,
don't.
yes they do. Or they wouldn't have voted for him.
That's not true. If the only people who voted for a presidential candidate are people who thought they were God, the presidential candidates in the United States would get hundreds of votes, not millions.
Oh my God.
What song do you want to play?
A Closer Crush.
Okay. Is there anything you want to say about the song?
I changed this song. It was originally about a celebrity that I had a crush on, and then I was like, no, this isn't going to get any play if I keep that weird stuff in it. So I took it out. But anyways, it is about me crushing on a celebrity girl that I've crushed on since I was like 11.
Okay.
So, yeah.
See you next week.
Adios.
I saw you from across the room. If looks could kill, I'd die for you. Oh, and you know just what you do. You're so casually cool. You're so casually cool. think I got a crush on you. I do. Think I got a crush on you. I think I got a crush on you. I do. Think I got a crush on you. I think I got a crush on you. I do. Think I got a crush on you. I think I got a crush on you. On you. Hey.
And I'm not gonna tell you who she is. Do you think she'd ever hear this song?
You're so casually cool. If looks could kill, I'd die for you. Oh, and you know just what you do. You're so casually cool. I think I got a crush